Welcome to HortTube. My name is Jim Putnam. This is the Sunday garden question and answer video that I do most Sundays of the month. The first Sunday of every month is a subscriber Sunday video where subscribers send in photos of things in their yard that they're proud of. The email address to send photos is right here. Make sure you title the email subscriber photos or something like that so I know what they are. That was last Sunday, so it will be the first Sunday in September will be the next subscriber Sunday. Between now and then, I'll do question and answer videos and giveaways as well. I've got a couple other giveaways coming up during these Sunday question and answer videos. You can ask questions down below this video, and I will pick from those for next week. And I sometimes will pick some random ones that I just got on the channel during the week that I thought were good and would help the group. I introduced a giveaway last week for 2 pro pluggers, one that was on Instagram and one here on YouTube. The winners, I use that random comment picker that I've shown many times. That there's a random comment picker that I can pick from all the comments on YouTube and all the comments on Instagram or Facebook or wherever I'm doing the giveaways on. The winner on Instagram is at Shirley Turn. And the winner on YouTube is Brandon Honeycutt. If you will send me an email to that horttube@gmail.com email address, I will, and your address, just put your address in that email. I will get it over to ProPlugger and they will send out the 2 Pro Pluggers. Thanks everyone for participating in that. The comments were wonderful as always, and I enjoyed that. Next Sunday, I'm introducing a plantsbymail.com giveaway. I've got some pieces coming from them during the week that I will show unboxing at some point. I've got a lot of plants coming for the front yard. Before I mulch the front yard, I want to get some pieces in the ground. It's just easier to go ahead and have them planted, and before I mulch, and probably a few more pieces going in back here as well. Some plants that newer pieces, plants I haven't done videos for, that kind of thing. Hopefully it's interesting. I did a couple propagation videos this week. There's a couple flats in the this what will be a greenhouse in the corner over here, and more to come if you haven't caught up on those propagation videos. I think I did 3 of them this week, just introducing the system that I'm using, and then 2 more videos just showing how I go about rooting plants. I've got some old propagation videos on the channel that might show easier techniques than I'm using this year. But every time I do the propagation series, I want to do a new technique that I've used in the past, just to show people there's no right or wrong way to go about plant propagation. Whatever works for you is the thing that, you know, that's your way to do it. Okay, so let's get started on some questions that I had over the last couple weeks here. Let's see. Somebody said their Blue Point junipers turned brown, and they think they had spider mites. Blue Points are upright, narrow junipers. So another thing I have this week is a video, hopefully by the end of the week, on corner plants for foundations. Blue Point juniper is a good choice for that. They had spider mites and they turned brown, and wanted to know, you know, the likelihood of them recovering. They'll likely recover, but it takes a long time typically, and you have to ask yourself sometimes with spider mites tend to attack plants that are in weakened conditions, or plants that don't even belong in that area, kind of. They're like nature's they're a pest that's in nature to eliminate weakened things so that they don't spread a disease or weaken other plants, that kind of thing. So typically where I see spider mites is in stressed conditions. So it may be that spot is not great for Blue Point junipers. It might be that it was too dry, or something, some indicator gave them the go-ahead to destroy it. So keep that in mind. That's what when we're talking about spider mites, a lot of times I'm not coming back with that plant, and they're super slow to recover. So that's not the answer that you want, but that's unfortunate truth about conifers that have been attacked by spider mites are slow to recover. Okay. Somebody asked me about keeping rabbits out of flower beds, and I know, you know, people will use sprays. There are you know, lots of things on the market for spraying. I think anything that you have to go out and spray, and I see, you know, lots of people making videos about, you know, those kinds of things, or putting out pellets or that kind of thing. I mean, the first time you forget, rabbit's not going to forget, you know, that they want to eat your plants. And so the first time you forget to spray them after it rains or whatever, you're going to be in trouble. Physical barriers are the thing for rabbits. I mean, it just is. There's no, I don't know of I find rabbits to be more tenacious than deer, honestly, and their palate seems to be wider as well. You know, they don't seem, you know, a lot of the things that are on the deer resistant list, rabbits just eat them up and don't really care. So I think you need a physical barrier. A lot of times for me, I had rabbits coming in eating my okra over here, and I had a temporary physical barrier. So I just let the okra get to a certain height. If they want to come in and chew some bottom leaves on it, at this point, it doesn't matter anymore. So sometimes it can just be a temporary barrier to allow the plant to get established and then remove it. And that would be my suggestion for most things. When I build this fence around this backyard, I'm going to build the bottom 2 or 3 pieces will be solid, and that's going to be my rabbit barrier. I can't keep out chipmunks, and a deer is going to come right over the top of it if they want to, but rabbits are my biggest concern in this yard, and so I'm going to do it with a physical barrier. I'm not going to trust myself to keep up spraying something every 10 days or whatever cycle that I have to do, or every time it rains or any of that. So again, not always the answer people want, but rabbits are a pain, and honestly I do think more of a pain at times than deer. Okay, somebody asked me what would I suggest for termites in mulch, and while I see termites in mulch occasionally, it's never ever bothered me. Typically they're breaking it down, and they're mostly drawn to the moisture in it more than anything. One thing about when we do a big mulch space like this, this area is going to be more moist than anything that's surrounding it. So my lawn area is in my neighbor's yard, and the lawn area over there, and so there are things that are going to be drawn to this moisture during dry times, hot times, cold times, whatever, because the mulch is moderating the environment over here. So may I get some? I might see some termites in it eventually. It doesn't bother me at all. This house is on a foundation, so it's up 2 feet. I definitely wouldn't pile mulch against the house. That might be an invite for them to just to trail right into the house. But I'm not worried about it. If you're worried about it, you can use some sort of stone barrier, for the first 12 inches around the house, and then mulch out from that or whatever. But if I saw termites, if I pulled this mulch back over here and saw termites in it, it wouldn't bother me at all. I wouldn't even think about it. I'd cover them back up. It just doesn't. It's not. It's one of those natural things, and as long as they're not attacking the house, then I don't really. It doesn't bother me at all. You can get those traps, that are buried in the ground that go around the house. If you're concerned about making sure that, they're not. There's some barrier between the house and the mulch, but they're more drawn to the moisture than they are anything else, I think, and they don't come in the bags or anything like that. There's no way termites survive the chipper. What's happening is you're putting down the bark, then again it's more moist than it is in other places, and then the termites are showing up. But I don't think it's any indicator that your house is going to be destroyed by termites or anything like that. Okay, let's see. Somebody asked me about their zinnias toward the middle of summer start to get all kinds of funky problems, and zinnias do just get funky problems on them. If you're using the same zinnias every year, you might switch to a different variety. I'm gonna start using some of those Bennery zinnias next year because they're just bigger. And when I was over at Denny Warner's house, they're so beautiful. These ones that I have back here have performed really well. That's some of them right there. The other ones that I had planted earlier in the season didn't do quite as well, but I was at his house earlier this week. He's got the most beautiful zinnias in the world, but they're completely spotted and they got 900 problems. But they're planted close enough together that the flowers are basically covering up all the problems. But zinnias by midsummer in the South with all the humidity and the heat are going to not necessarily look that great. Plant them super close together and be prepared to tear them out. I've got new seedlings for zinnias in the house right now. They're going in this next week or two, and these right here are going to come out. So be prepared to replant them during midsummer, and they'll bloom right until frost if you do it that way. Okay, somebody asked me about helping out their new house with their clay soil. The old house that I came from had much tougher clay than this, and I have clay planting video that half of you probably found my channel on, but that video has 500,000 views or something. That house, in the 5 years I lived in that house, that soil got better and better and better every year. And by the time I was re-landscaping it before I left, that soil was easy to dig in. And so think less about think less about having a magical cure for your clay soil and think more about a long-term cure for your clay soil. I used, I put down this bed of compost here, and then I mulched over top of it. And then I'm just gonna mulch it and mulch it and mulch it and mulch it in the future, maybe as much as twice a year thin or once a year thick. And you will see over time that this soil and the old house and the soil here just get better and better and better. I don't think there's a miracle cure. The times I've seen people try to fix those issues all at once, I've seen spaces end up staying too wet. If you add too much organic material at one time, you can keep the soil too wet. If you add a barrier of topsoil on top of the clay, a lot of times the plants that you plant will just root down to that clay, and then they'll spread out and they don't root deep. And so then those plants become vulnerable to drought. Turf is especially that way. Folks that add 2 inches of topsoil and then put their grass seed on top of it, the grass will root down to that clay and then spread out and not really penetrate that clay very well. You're best to amend the clay and let the grass fight through it better than putting topsoil on top of it. You put that extra horizon, it's called, on top of it, and it's not the benefit that you think it is. So slow and steady, improve your, use compost and use mulch, and think about it more as a long-term thing rather than a short-term thing. Okay, another long answer from Jim. Okay, somebody asked me about an interesting tree for Zone 6 in Louisville, and something that was moderate size. You can use red buds in Louisville, and there's lots of different red buds. Another question I got, I think it looks like that weeping gold red bud right there is a vine on the house, but it's actually a weeping red bud right there. That was another question I got, because it does look like it's a vine. I do have a grape vine that I've started on the house, on the building over there, but there's actually a weeping tree in front of it. It's just where this camera angle, I think, lines it up with the building. Lots of those new red buds that I've showed on the channel, and I've got a video about red buds being my favorite trees or something like that. You can go to that video and pick out one of those. I love fringe trees as well, and so they're good 20, 25 foot tall trees. There's a native fringe tree and there's a Chinese fringe tree. And then if you want something slightly bigger than that, I really like sourwood trees. I like the fall color on sourwood trees, and it's not something that everybody in your neighborhood would have. So there's 3 quick suggestions. Somebody asked me if I had planted alliums here, and I have not yet, but I have ordered alliums for the fall, and I will be planting. I think I got 100 purple lavenderish bulbs that I'm going to put all in one place. Next year I'm going to have more mass planting than the randomness of this year. I had my reasons for doing it this year, but I'm going to have more mass color next year, and one of those mass colors will be 100 alliums that I'm planting. Let's see. And then so they asked me where I'm getting bulbs from, and a lot of times I'll get them from Color Blends. I've been looking through other places right this minute. I haven't decided completely yet, but I did order the alliums from Color Blends. Okay, let's see. Oh, this was a good question, and this is a question that relates to me as well. Somebody wanted to know about the transition area between some wooded space they have behind them and their garden, and it looks awkward. And mine is the exact same way. This wooded space back here is not mine, and I have got this ugly fence that everybody knows I'm replacing right there. I've left about 6 feet of space between the back of where I've planted back here and the property line. So when I replace the fence, I've got room back there to put some larger shrubs in. And so my answer to this question about the transition between my yard and that wooded space, I am going to put some larger evergreen shrubs back there, possibly a couple things that have some foliage color, like chartreuse coloration or that kind of thing, just to create some sort of division between this garden and that wooded space, because I don't think it looks that great, but I do have a plan for it. I just have to get to that fence project in order to do it. But I left myself about 6 foot. So I would consider doing a mixed screen between you and that wooded space. Don't go buy 30 of them. You do whatever you want to do. This is not, I just did the opposite of the point of this channel. I don't tell anybody what to do. I make subtle suggestions, and my subtle suggestion is a mixed border of some different interesting things that, things that interest you. Find things that get between 5 and 10 feet in height, and get lots of different ones. Maybe you can find some things that bloom in the spring, some things that bloom in the summer, some things that bloom in the fall. But I am going to create a barrier back there of medium-sized shrub things that differentiate this garden from the woods. Okay, I'm going to get one more question here. Let's see. I did the plants thing behind me. Somebody had commented, I said something about my all the pollinators that I've invited to this yard helping me with tomatoes over here, and my vegetable garden. And they had pointed out that tomatoes are self-pollinating, and tomatoes are self-pollinating, but they're also bee-pollinated. And so we call this perfect flowered when a flower has the male and female parts. Lots of plants that are like that. There's lots of grape varieties that are perfect flowered. Lots of plants that can pollinate themselves. And that works okay, but bee-pollinated tomatoes are typically larger and typically they weigh more. There's a lot of studies on this, the ones that the bees pollinate, because what's happening there is the bees are taking pollen from one flower or one plant and putting it in another and basically creating a hybrid. And we all know that crossing two plants together, you get the best genes from both plants. And so typically bee pollinated tomatoes are larger, way more. There's even some studies on that they're more nutrient dense than tomatoes that end up being self-pollinated. So yes, you're correct, but both things happen. Bees pollinate them, and they're self-pollinating if the bees are absent. So that's it. So again, thanks to ProPlugger for participating in the channel. Again, they've given away several of these over the years. This is a great tool that you'll see me using this fall, because I got bulbs coming, and or will have bulbs coming. And next week, like I said, I'll introduce a plantsbymail.com giveaway. Thanks for watching.